It's March 31st, 2025, and we are here at a nameless dry gulch just about 10 miles southwest of Cortez, Colorado. And we are here to diagnose the continental building of the true ancients who laid down crystalline material to direct water and to create a thriving biosphere. In particular, we're going to look at geology's Navajo sandstone, which is said in academia to be a material that came into existence through natural sedimentary forces. So we're at the top of a rather deep gulch, but here at the top it's shallow. But I just want to show you the diagonal sectioning that the true ancients used in building their watercourses, because this is a watercourse. It doesn't look like much up there, it just looks like some dirt, but it's coming down at a rather steep angle and becomes a rushing watercourse when there's rain. So let's look at the angle of the construction, all right? So we have this line, very integral, but it's also got a calcite or silica composition to that diagonal line, and that's a 45 to the flow. All right, flow is this way. Here's our line. Now let's go down. We're just going to look for their angles of construction. Okay, another 45 to the flow. Really faint calcite or silica composition to that little seam in crystalline concrete. Then, we have to back up for this one. This is really a long one. They weren't messing around. So this is a 45 to the flow, virtually straight, and geology has no explanation for that. Oh, it does a dog leg here. We've seen this many times, the dog leg that they do. Another dog leg. Actually, they keep both seams running. And then the one on the left disappears and the one on the right keeps going. 45 to the flow. Do you see that? I've documented this on 3 continents, 45-degree angle construction. 45 degrees to the flow. So you see that, right? Okay, good. Let's keep going down. There's another 45 to the flow. This one dog legs over here and becomes 2 together right there. Here's another 45 to the flow. Kind of faint, but you can see it. So the flow is this way. Here's that 45. Here's that 45, so you see that, right? I'm gonna keep going. Here's another seam in crystalline concrete laid down by the true ancients. Oh, and there's a bunch of companion seams right there, all going at 45s though. 45 to the flow, right? Let's see what other construction lines are here. There's a bunch going virtually parallel, and they become this one, and this one travels there, hard to see, and there's some that from a dog leg, basically 45 to the flow. Here's 2 next to each other, one right here, one right here. So we have companion 45 seams, and this one sort of disappears. This one keeps going, right? And there's one next to it, slightly, you see, these are converging slightly, so they're not quite parallel. Interesting. So these are 2 that are parallel, 45 to the flow. You see that? Flows this way. And the 45s are visible. Doo-doo-doo. This is building, not erosion. They wanted the water to be right here. And that's why they created 45-degree angle sectioning, because that's the way they worked. Right? Here's two that are converging a little bit. 45 to the flow. Just to make sure we know what we're talking about. See that? See the 45s to the flow? This is probably the 500th time I've mentioned that in videos on 3 continents. Nobody cares. 45 to the flow. Geologists are just like, it's all natural, really, except for the construction. 45 to the flow. You can see the flow. Oh, here's some parallel seams to the flow. And 45, and again to the flow. And some divergent ones. So basically you've got your 45 as the primary angle of construction. That's how they built their watercourses. And you're like, but that's not a watercourse, that's just a little tiny little... Oh, and here's another 45 to the flow. Right here, does a dog leg. It is 45, so you can see that, right? I'm just showing you what was here. And then you have to see it. Because the geologists aren't going to tell you. Another 45 to the flow. Parallel 45s. Interesting, right? So that's how they built this little... That's how they meticulously built this little meeting place between 2 hills. It's a watercourse. You can call it a creek, a river, a rivulet. You can just call it a dry gulch or dry gully. There's that 45. So satisfying, right? So satisfying. There's that 45. Ah. There's that 45. So satisfying. Perfectly parallel 45. Ah. That's how they built their watercourses. They built this channel. More 45s. So these are all sections of crystalline concrete. And the white calcite or silica seams show us where the sections are joined together. 45. I'm just showing you again because most of this is the second time's for the geologists because they're a little bit slow. As I've mentioned in other videos, they're like the Forrest Gumps of the natural sciences. Very sweet people, very good-hearted people, and dumb as stones, dumber than a rock. And no more seams up here. That's just a hillside. They don't need 45-degree angle seams here. There are no seams at all. It's just one massive project, crystalline concrete project. And then they start their seams just as they're starting to get down to the watercourse. Right? Here's the watercourse. What is a watercourse? It's the meeting of 2 hills. That's why they need their 45s. I'm showing it for the 3rd time because the geologists are absolutely fucking stupid as stones. Doesn't mean they don't have good hearts, good family men, good family women. Really good people. Really good people. These are the kind of people you'd want to be stuck with on a desert island. I've met geologists. I made a 4-part series called Quest for Geology. A little bit of humor in that title, obviously, because I keep looking for geology and I keep finding building. And the first part of that series, Quest for Geology, is a conversation with a geologist or a park ranger who studied geology. So he's well versed in geology, and he gave us the lowdown on the academic version of what he thought academia believed was happening at Paling Creek. which runs into the Frio River. He was a really good guy. Now he's someone I'd love to be stuck on a desert island with. Why? Because he's got a good heart, but he can't see. He can't see the material. He can see what firewood to pick up. We can make a nice fire on the desert island. But that's because his mind hasn't been deformed and dismantled by trauma-based mind control in firewood picking up. But of course, in geology, which we all had in school at one level or another, we find ourselves sledgehammered by natural sciences, the false premise beneath which is that we're the first advanced race in the universe. So we know that we didn't build the continents, so therefore the continents must be natural. Therefore this 45-degree angle to the flow seam must be just a random crack, because we know we didn't build the continents and there were no other races around to build them. That's the premise. We're the first happy accident to have raised our heads above the muck and mire and achieved self-consciousness, self-awareness. Therefore, all of this must have come into existence through natural forces. So therefore, every single feature that we see, no matter how obviously evidence of artifice, must be random occurrence, must be a happy accident. Oh, it just so happened that all of those lines are 45s to the flow. It just happened that way. So the geological theory doesn't explain anything. Geologists throw up their hands at every single instance and say, it just happened that way, it just formed. Geologists call this Navajo sandstone. Navajo sandstone, and all sandstone, is said by academic geology to have come into existence through natural forces, sedimentary layering and compression over time. So this line right here, when a geologist looks at this, he says that's just a crack. This is just a crack. But if we have sense, if we actually look at the terrain, we see that this is a 45-degree angle to the flow. So the flow is going, I'll show you the flow. So this is a 45 to the flow. There's the 45. There's the 45. There's the flow. There's our 45. So this 45 meets this 45. So this is something I've documented on 3 continents at riverbeds and riverbanks. So they use riverbeds and riverbanks as foundations for hills, and they constructed the riverbeds and riverbanks with the primary angle of 45 degrees to the flow of the water. 45 degrees to the line between the hills, which would become the flow of the water. Always 45s. Primary angle. So we have to ask ourselves, do we want to hold on to a theory that is not explanatory of the terrain? The theory of natural geology, the theory that the continental features came into existence through natural forces? Or do we want to embrace a theory that explains the terrain? We have crisscrossing 45s. So we have these seams, these very tight, integral, white-colored calcite silica seams going at a 45 that way. And then we have the structure of the step going at a 45 the other way. And here's a meeting right here, of them right here. So you see the structure of the step right here, right? So that's Let's get back a little bit so you can see it better. It's a step down at a 45 to the flow, and then there's a seam at a 45 that goes and intersects the step down, right? So we have to ask ourselves what we want to do as a species. Do we want to be led by the nose, like cattle, by academia? Or do we want to take charge of our own understanding? So this dry gulch flows from left to right, or would if there were water in it. And I just want to show you this bank of the little creek that would be running if there were water. Now, there's 2 layers of material here, as you can see, right? And in both layers, there's a 45-degree angle line that transverses those, what are supposed to be time periods. Geology says that these layers are time periods. But that's obviously not the case, because you wouldn't have a straight line transversing 2 time periods and another straight line transversing 2 time periods. So all we see is 45-degree angle lines. You see those? Parallel lines. What do I mean by 45? I mean 45 to the flow of the water. 45 to the line between the hills. It's a 45 to the line between the hills. 45, little dog leg. 45. 45. There's the flow. 45 to the flow. Is this the 800th time I've said 45 to the flow in videos on 3 continents? Hard to say. See the 45-degree angle lines? I mean, I can't force your eyelids open with tools. You have to see it. 45 to the flow. That's what they did. That's how they did it. 45 to the flow. There's the little watercourse, okay? This is Jock Doubleday reporting from a nameless gulch that was meticulously engineered by the true ancients, the builders of Terra's continents. I hope everyone has a scientific day.